Hi there and welcome to Busternet. This is the channel where I talk about Football Manager. This is the place where I try to make the game as easy as it can be. And this is my goal. If you've watched any of my YouTube videos, you probably noticed that I don't overcomplicate my tactics. I may with PIs here and there, but I try to make the game simple so that I can feel like a manager on the sidelines. Yeah, it's not that hard a game. On today's show, I'm going to talk about something that tends to confuse people a fair bit. And I've already done one video on this. It's called the theory of relativity. It's about shape. And on this show, I'm going to talk about it again. And now I'm going to look at shape and try to explain it in a quick guide so that you can use it in your game. In this video, I've got two options. I can go complicated or I can go simple. So the plan here is to do simple. Okay, I'm not going to do complicated because I don't want to. It's too complicated, and I guarantee you guys are going to be even more confused. So here I am with my simple explanation for shape. Shape affects transitions. You've got 5 settings for shape: highly structured, structured, flexible, fluid, and very fluid. On highly structured settings of shape, it's like going to a concert where you're listening to 3 bands playing at the same time. One band is playing music from The Who, another band is playing music from Nirvana, and finally the last band is playing music from Pearl Jam. They're all singing rock songs. However, the tempo of each rock song is different. They're all playing music, but they're all playing different songs. In a highly structured system, that's what you get. A team you put out on the pitch, there'll be 11 players there. But imagine this: in the huddle, the defensive players are all going, they have all come up with their plan. Their plan is very simple. We're going to defend, guys, and we're just going to pass the ball to the midfielders. The midfielders have their own plan. The midfielders are going, guys, when we get the ball, our job is to make sure that the ball gets to the attackers so that they can go and score the goals. And the attackers' job is, guys, we don't worry about the guys giving us the balls. We don't worry about the guys defending. Our job is very simple. We're going to create chances and put balls into the net. Highly structured creates divisions in a team. They may all play on the same game plan, but they all have very distinct duties, and this affects their transitions. On very fluid settings, the team is going to be like singing Kumbaya at a campfire. They all sit down together in a show of unity and they all sing the same song together. They might have different harmonies, but they all still singing the same song, but in different harmonies. Very fluid settings basically tells the whole team, okay, we're going to play together. We're going to all share the same risk profile. There might be slight differences in risk, but we're all going to be attacking, for example. So the whole team goes out there and they all play on one setting. Imagine this: on a highly structured system, you could have 5 groups of players within your own team, and each group could be on a different mentality. Just because you chose defensive as a team shape does not necessarily mean that all the duties are defensive. Some players will be on defensive, some players might be on counter, some players might be on standard, and some players might be on control. And that is the reality. Highly structured creates distinctions between the groups so that you get that sensation on the pitch that there's a lot of space. And as you move through the various shape settings, that distinction gets narrower and narrower to the point where when you reach very fluid, there's no distinction. So everybody on a very fluid setting, if you were to set the team on defensive very fluid, everybody is defensive very fluid. Okay, but now if you were to get to flexible, then you'd have 3 distinct groups. You could have one group on defensive, one group on counter, one group on standard. So this is the best way for me to explain in simple terms, because if I were to explain it if I wanted to explain it in numerics, I use numbers to explain it, it could get a bit confusing for people, because mentality is actually a scale from 1 to 20, and please don't ask me to explain to you what's the difference between 5 and 6, because there was a long discussion way back in 2003 where there was this huge discussion about the difference between mentality from one player who's 5 and one player who's 6, and I do not want to go there again. Alright, so the best way for me to explain to you guys is really simple. Okay, just think of mentality as a sliding scale between contain and overload. Haha, that's easy. So when you look at highly structured, Your team could be on defensive. It's very likely that maybe one or two players could be on contain, and some players could be on counter, and your attacking duties might be on standard. But when you move through shape you move to different shapes, then your distinctions become narrower. So now you may have 5 groups on highly structured. On structured shape, you could have 4 groups, and they could be contained, defensive, counter, and standard in the same team. Then when you go to flexible, there will be only three groups of players. They all could be contained, defensive, counter. When you're playing on fluid, the distinctions could be narrower. Now you could have 3 groups of players all playing between 2 mentality ranges, but they're staying within these 2 ranges as closely as possible. And finally, on very fluid, then the whole team is actually within 1 mentality range. So you could be playing on a very fluid setting, and you could suddenly see that you only have 1 defender in your half. The rest of your team is in the opponent's half. I've seen that happen to my teams as well. So this is the effect of shape. Shape seeks to create distinctions in risk or makes a team all sit on the same risk profile. And this has major implications for duties. Between FM15 and FM17, the developers of the game went to great lengths to make the game really cohesive. So essentially what's happened is that whenever you create a system, because I've stopped talking about tactics, I've now started talking about systems, and that's the direction that SI is heading in. As a manager, you have to create a kind of a framework. So your framework will really be set by deciding what the range of mentality is going to be. So you come up with your decision on mentality for your whole team, and then you have roles and duties. Roles and duties will then go and split these mentalities up. So you've got defend duties, you've got support duties, and you've got attacking duties. Within these 3 duties, you'll have a range of mentalities too. Finally, you have shape. Shape splits these up into so that it affects transitions. So on highly structured shapes, you might even see defend duties have variations in mentality. And then when you go to very fluid systems, the same duties will not have any variation in mentality. So everybody sings Kumbaya together in a very fluid, whereas on highly structured systems, everybody's singing a different song. So this will create the impression when you play the game that there are more spaces to exploit because players seem to be further away. On very fluid systems, you'll see more compactness. You'll see a team moving up together, you see a team moving back down together, and sometimes they don't move back together in one group. So how do you think about the game in terms of transitions? Now, there are many kinds of transitions in the game, but essentially we have 3 broad ones. You've got your defense to midfield transition, you've got the midfield transition itself, which involves consolidation as well as penetration. And then finally, you've got your attacking transition, which is basically you trying to score a goal. These are the broad ones. Then you've got a defense to attack transition with the ball, you might have a through pass from your defender straight up to attack. Or you could have an attack to defense transition, which is you were attacking and you lost the ball and your team has to transition back to defense. So there are lots, and within these there's also smaller transitions. That should be the subject of an entire video all in itself. So I'm not going to go into transitions in detail, but I'm going to just explain how shape plays a part. Duties guide when transitions kick in. So defend duties here, Wallace and Polzano, playing in a highly structured system, they'll always stay back. This applies as well to a central midfielder on defense. Even though he might not be on the same mentality, he could be on a slightly different mentality if you're playing structured. But if you were playing a very fluid systems, there might be slight changes. Because once your team gets into the opponent's half, you could see one defender bombing up into a slightly attacking position because you're playing very fluid and you might be on an attacking mentality. So you could suddenly see him drift into the opponent's half. That may not happen on a highly structured system, but it could happen on a very fluid system. So during transitions, on a highly structured system, defend duties will stay defending. Support duties will wait for you to control certain area of the pitches before they get involved in the transition. And attack duties may just kick in as early as a midfield transition to move forward. So these are the things that you're looking for when it comes to duties. We got Wallace on one mentality. He's on defend mentality, so it's very low. And then up in midfield, we've got another defend duty. This guy could very well be on a normal mentality. So if they were to start a 100-meter race, okay, and you're moving the ball through a transition from defense to midfield, the person who might bolt first is this guy. It's like giving him a 5 meter head start in a 100 meter race. And this guy will start a bit later. So this could affect transitions. And the guy on attack duties, you've given them a really big head start and they're going to bolt even earlier. So highly structured systems create this illusion of space. Now, on a very fluid system, that's not the same thing, because on a very fluid system, they all will probably be singing Kumbaya together because they all have the same mentality, and they will all move up and down a pitch during a transition at the same time. So they're all sharing the same mentality. So the attackers won't be far in mentality from the midfielders, and the midfielders won't be far from mentality from the defenders. So it affects the way you want to pass the ball. It affects the way you want to do counter attacks, which is one of the reasons why a lot of us say, you want to play a counter attacking football, play structured, because there's space to exploit. So you could go like, I want to be a bit compact and I want to deny a team spaces. So you can go fluid, very fluid. All right, you can even play on flexible, but you can go like fluid, very fluid. And then once you frustrated the opposition, you think to yourself, okay, fine. Now how am I going to kick them in the nuts? So what you do is you go to structured. You pass into space. You get players in midfield or even at the back playing direct passes, bombing the ball forward, which is sometimes why in my book you notice me going from defensive structured, then maybe I might go attacking structured. Because why? I may change my mentality, but when I go attacking structured, I don't want to throw everybody in. I'm just affecting mentality and hoping that maybe only 3 or 4 players get forward. But let's assume things are really bad, and this is what the AI does. Things are bad, AI goes overload, very fluid. So your duties, most of your support duties are now launching themselves in transitions as well. So this is how you should be looking at transitions and looking at duties and how they affect your game. So the next time you sit down and the next time you want to think about a tactic, break it down between mentality, roles and duties, and shape. So when you want to create a system where I don't want to throw many players into attack, I want to keep things a bit more sensible at the back, then play on structured or flexible. Let's say everything has gone to hell and back and you really need a goal, then you want to push forward, then think about attacking in very fluid or attacking fluid. Remember that shape involves the number of players you throw into attack, and the players that usually get thrown into attack are going to be your support duties. So that's basically shape in a nutshell, and I hope this has made things clear. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. You can always look me up on Twitter at BusterNet, and you can always find me at addictedtofm.com. Once again, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your support, and I will try and keep these videos coming so that it will help you in your quest to become the world's greatest football manager. I'll catch you.